Dallas has just been on a tear. I believe we can attribute that to Jason Robertson. Also, Jake Ottinger, who's really stepped in.
Yeah, so we can compare a rookie QB to a toddler. Hayward's absence for this game will be significant, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game turns into a blowout as of late.
The Golden Knights just can't pull it. I really think the Avalanche are determined this year.
They made so many moves and grabbed so many guys that they have to win a championship or at least make the finals. They were on our championship and bust.
The same self, the only year he won an MVP was the year he cheated, which really should put something against that MVP. But
yeah, and as a Cowboys fan, I have learned how dangerously good Aaron Rodgers has been with he can just thread a pass.
Hello, I am Ruby Ackerman, and you are listening to Outsider's Opinion with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin. I'm joined by the man that watched it live. I caught the second half on replay as it was replaying today as we are recording. Austin, what an incredible comeback. I believe it's the first time since 2011 that a team down 15 came back to win.
And who was the coach of that team that came back?
Rick Carlisle.
I was talking to my dad after the game, and he made a really good point. He's like, the Thunder are the better team, but the Pacers have the best coach in the series, and that means they always have a chance. And I do believe that Rick Carlisle is the better coach in this series. I believe the experience that he has going to multiple finals, and obviously winning one with the Mavs in 2011, is huge for not just the Pacers, but the advantage that they're going to have over the Thunder. This Seth, who is someone that has been on our channel a couple times now, always makes the point in a lot of NBA games that there's a lot of games that are like always hover around 7 to 12 points, right? The entire game. And like, it's close enough to where you don't want to turn the game off, but it's not, you know that the other team's going to win. Like, you know, the team that's been up 7 to 12 is going to win. There's not going to be a comeback. That game is what that was for the entirety of the game. It felt like one of those games that eventually the Thunder were just going to win. That like there was not going to be a comeback because the Thunder were not dominant, but controlling the entire game, and the Pacers somehow came back. I've seen a couple of videos, and if someone hasn't seen a lot of these videos about the Pacers offense, you definitely should watch them. They're extremely interesting. The Pacers run an offense that I don't think anybody in NBA history has run, because they don't just run with pace. They run all of their actions or like their screens, everything, and their movement extremely quickly. Like they're sprinting to their spots and they're always moving. And in this video, I don't actually remember who. I'll probably tag it afterwards after we post the video to give credit where it's due. But this guy mentions that the Pacers could possibly be wearing teams down by how fast they're running their actions to where the teams get tired at the end of the games. And then eventually that allows them the ability to come back because the other team is tired. Do you think that this was more of a Pacers won or OKC lost game to you?
That's a good question because the final amount of turnovers was 25 for the Pacers, and they somehow still won. But
it's because they had 17 more rebounds.
17 more rebounds. Okay.
So they had a lot of offensive boards to get extra possessions.
Yeah, I want to say the Pacers won this one, and you talk about great coaching. There was something I noticed, and I'm sure a ton of other people noticed it, but at the end, when they get the ball, time is winding down. Instead of calling a timeout, Carlisle lets the play run. And to me, that's because you are facing the great defense. And I've heard coaches before say, we didn't want to call a timeout to allow them to get set, which to me is what Rick Carlisle did. He didn't call a timeout. Haliburton got the ball, and then he winds up, and I'm not sure if there was a set. That's where I kind of get lost. But Haliburton was able to find a way, and then he hits the game-winning shot. So to me, that was a huge move where a lot of coaches would call a timeout to let them get the right offensive set. But to me, Carlisle realized if I do this, we actually have we have a worse chance. We have a better chance right now in just the flow of the game and that pace that you talked about. And credit to Halliburton hitting the shot. So I want to say with that, and the Pacers went 6 for 9 from 3, because I was watching the replay and I'm like, okay, when does the comeback happen? And then I'm just like, oh, this is it. It just slowly, they keep chipping away, but you're like, okay, nothing's really going to happen. They did have
my dad did turn off the game when it was a 15-point lead in the fourth, and he wasn't confident they're coming back. But how I explained it to him, how they came back, was chopping down a tree. I mean, it's one swing of the axe at a time. It wasn't just mowing it down. It was just one axe swing, and it eventually resulted in a comeback and an amazing one. I do think this was a huge win for the Pacers, because you can compare this a little bit to the 2018 Cavs versus the Warriors, because the Thunder do really seem like the much better team in this series. They were minus 700 coming into this series, but you have to get game one. And the Cavs didn't, because of a George Hill missed free throw and a JR blunder. And then LeBron broke his hand in the locker room after the game. And that doomed the series. It was never going to be competitive after that. Now, I don't know if it was going to be, right? We don't know if it was going to be anyways. If the Cavs had won the game, maybe they lose in 4. But this is a huge win. And I do think the Thunder are going to start to question themselves because of this loss. This is not their first loss in the playoffs like this. They had a couple against the Nuggets that were very similar, especially game 1 against the Nuggets. But I do wonder whether or not this is going to affect the confidence of other players, because Shea played really well. Shea, besides the very end when he missed the jumper, he missed the mid-range jumper in Andrew Nembhard's face, and Andrew Nembhard played amazing in this game. So I do wonder how this affects the confidence of the team and how Mark Daigneault responds to the great coaching of Rick Carlisle and how he really tries to bring up his guys. How do you think this affects the team? Do you think it affects them mentally, or do you think they thought, hey, we were winning the game the entire game, let's just close it out better, let's not change our scheme, we got this? How do you think they view it?
I don't think the Thunder viewed too much, because they're like, we're leading, it was just a lucky shot. We forced so many turnovers. The thing that I would be scared about if Rick Carlisle wasn't coaching them would kind of be overconfidence. Hey, you got game 1. But Rick Carlisle has said, Mavs reporters talked about, really playoff series are marathons. I remember talking to one friend where he was saying, oh, I think the Thunder had won game 1, and they eventually beat the Timberwolves, but a lot can happen in the span of a series. In our own channel, we picked the Suns to win when they were up 2-0 against the Bucks. That was kind of our recording schedule, but the Bucks ended up winning that series. So game 1 is huge, but there's still a longer road, but it's a nice step, especially to me, given the 25 turnovers, 19 turnovers in the first half against such a great defense, and you stole that win. But
yeah, just to comment on that really quickly, Pascal Siakam said after the game, how do you feel about it? He's like, we didn't even play well. And to win a game that you think you didn't play well is huge, because it allows you to take advantage of all the mistakes where you made the mistakes. But usually when you make mistakes, you lose, right? Usually when you have the blunders, you're like, man, we need to get that game back. But now you make the changes and you get the win from previous. So if you make the changes and end up winning another game, right, you're able to actually take advantage of the mistakes and actually win the game that you had the mistakes in.
Yeah, that's a great point. But there's still a much larger goal. You still have to get 3 wins against this great team. And it is good because you at least even the series, but there's still a lot of game left, a lot of series to be played. But it was definitely huge just given how good the Thunder are. So we'll have to see. But I'm very interested, how does Mark Daigneault figure it out and respond? And how do Thunder players it can't just be Shea. Even though they were winning with Shea, but when it came down to it, I just don't think he had the energy to hit that shot.
Yep, I agree. Now, I know you picked the Pacers to win the series, and I picked the Thunder. I don't think this changes either of our minds regarding what's going to happen in the series. It's too early to say, but very impressive win. very impressive. And if the Pacers do win this series, this is the game that you're going to look back to and say, this is how they took advantage early in the series.
Especially, I have it going 6, but if it goes 7, then you're like, okay, that one game one was huge.
Yep.
So every win matters. So let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.